Hey, what is up? My name is Richie, and today we have low poly in Fortnite Creative. It is technically not poly, we're just trying to recreate it and make it look like it's low poly. Basically, what we're doing is creating minimalistic things, which are very easy to do, and basically everybody that has not even like really touched Creative Fortnite too much can create this. And I'm also gonna show you guys a tutorial of this room at the end. So by the end, you should be able to create your own little gaming room or whatever room you want to form out of that. So let's start in with what low poly actually is. So to give it a very minimalistic explanation, low poly is basically less details. So for example, this is a 4-round cylinder, I think it's called, and you cannot see any edges here. So technically low poly of this would be this, right? So it is still the same kind of shape, right? Not the real shape. But it looks like this, for example. So the same is for realistic things. So for this tree as an example. So you can see this tree is fully round and it has some nice leaves or whatever. And the low poly version of this would look like this. So you can see here that it's basically the same thing as over here. It is just a cylinder type of shape. But very flat and very less details, obviously. The reason why people are technically doing this is because it's easier to make in rendering engines, and it's a lot less, hard to render like stuff like this than like stuff like this. But in Fortnite Creative, you obviously have pre-made things, so it's technically harder in Fortnite Creative to create low poly, but the look is very nice. So it's also not hard at all, but you get the point. It's harder because we have to recreate it. Obviously, how can you create these? These are very simple, as already said. These are just like things like this, and then what you can do here is basically just turn it a little bit, whatever. You have to make it random, obviously, then scale it down as low as possible, and then make it as large, and then you can obviously do that kind of stuff. And if you want to know how to kind of recolor them, all you have to do for these are only for the primitive shape. The other galleries, I'll come to that in a second. You have to just click on that, and then you can change colors here. So that is super simple. For all the other galleries, which are mainly used for low poly, like the cube galleries and the pyramids or whatever, these are obviously come in the pre-made things, so you can see them already, but you cannot change the colors of them. They also have different colors, but it's a completely different take. So the main two things that you want to use are obviously the primitive shapes gallery, and you can find them if you go into creative, and then you can find them basically all in the shapes category here. So you can see that you have all these nice shapes here. Obviously these not, but you have all these nice shapes, and you can all use them for these low poly stuff, because low poly looks the best in matte colors. So that is obviously something you want to do. Another tip that I can give to you guys before you start creating stuff, because this has this weird like choose a color thing here, I would really recommend just using the blank cube here, which is at the end of this one right here. Just copy and paste it a bunch of times and give each one the colors that they're in there. So you can have like this little palette, and you can see which colors are looking the best for that thing that you want to create. You obviously can also use them in combination. So I have this pyramid gallery here. So I just use these little pyramids, put them on top of each other, and then I use this pillar down here. And that should also recreate this tree right here. And this looks super nice. It was also very easy to make. And it can give your map a really different look from something that is just pre-made. So here's another thing which you can create. I found this in, like, as I googled low poly stuff, and I really thought this was like really cool in Fortnite Creative, which you can recreate very easily. So these are like basically minimalistic, kind of structures. And you can really create some really cool stuff with this and create some really unique map. You can obviously make them a lot bigger, just to make to show them off here. It's easier to make them smaller. Okay, but enough of that. Let's get right into it on how to create this gaming room. So we want to start off by building a 4x4 ground for our room. For this, you can just take the normal cube, scale it up as big as possible, and then flatten it. The next thing is to create the walls, and here you can just simply use the floor piece, flip it around, and then you can, fill out the bottom part, just copy and paste the bottom part and put it on top of it. So after we found the correct height of the room, we obviously have to make the entrance. So this is not really necessary. So if you don't want to do it, if it's too advanced for you, then just skip this. The next thing we're going to do is build a table. And for this one, yet again, we're going to use the cube. Just scale it down as small as possible. You can even use the floor piece again. Just make it look like a table. Obviously, use whatever color you want, and then just place it in the corner. The height of the table should be roughly around the hip height of your character, so it looks more realistic. And also, yes, as you guessed, you can use the cubes for the legs as well, but you can also use like smaller pieces. where the legs look a lot smaller, which is more realistic to actual tables. So if you want to use something different, try to use that. So the next thing that we're going to do is something more difficult, but it's still not difficult at all. So we're going to create the monitor, and herefore we just need one cube. So what we need is we're going to start off with the bottom, make the bottom piece, then we're going to make the stand, we're going to make the holder for the monitor, then we create the actual monitor, and then we can just take the monitor and just scale it down like 1 or 2 steps and place it very carefully inside of the actual monitor. So we have the nice black screen. Obviously you have to turn that black. That's the reason why I made the monitor white, so it looks a little bit better, but you can obviously turn the color of the monitor and whatever you want. And now that we're done with the monitor, we can actually put it in our hotbar. And from there on, we can copy it to our table, put like 2 or 3 monitors on there. Obviously, turn them a little bit so it looks like a realistic setup. The next thing, we also need a keyboard and mouse pad for the whole thing. So yet again, use a cube, make it as small as possible, place it with no grid snap inside of the table, so it's like a very thin edge there. Then for the mouse pad, we can use a different piece which has these rounded edges. It's basically a cube but with rounded edges. Same thing here, place it with no grid snap inside of the table, so there's just a small edge popping up, like it's mouse pads are obviously not that thick. So make a small edge, and for the mouse we can use this piece right here. Just same thing again, make it as small as possible, place it on the mouse pad somewhere where you want it, obviously give it a different color. Now for the PC we can actually use this piece right here. It looks like a kind of Apple monitor or something, or Apple PC actually. One thing which we want to do is obviously have some kind of buttons in the front. So for that we're just going to use a cube piece again, place it in front, so it looks like there are some kind of buttons there. So for the chair, we're going to use the same piece as for the mouse pad. We're going to have 2 of them. The one should be a little bit smaller where you sit on, and then the other one should be stretched out fully to make it look like the where you lean against. And then for the armrests, we're going to use these pieces. Just, probably can place them like next to the to the other pieces so they look like an actual armrest. So last but not least, we're going to create the bed, and for that, we're just going to start off by using a big piece for the head part, so it should be a little bit higher than usual, like beds are these days. And then you also want to use another cube piece for the kind of bottom part of the bed. So for the mattress, you want to use the same piece as for the mouse pad. Just make sure that you don't stretch it too much so the edges look like kind of stretched out, which is not really cool. Make sure that you just duplicate them in each other so they look nice and clean. And then for the pillow, we just want to use this piece. Should be easy. Just scale it down a little bit so it's a little bit more flat, and then just place it inside of the head piece of the bed and inside of the mattress. And then obviously you want to decorate the whole room. I used neon lights from the neon gallery here as well, but you can obviously do whatever you want. I also put in some shelves and some artwork on the side, and you can also put in like carpets or whatever you want. Just make it your own, make it a nice looking gaming room. And that's been it. Hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully you can create something really cool with it. Also, if you created something very cool, let me know. Show me on Twitter at Richytoons. Send me some DMs or whatever. I try to answer them as often as possible. And do the usual YouTube stuff. Subscribe, like. If you don't like the video, then leave whatever, some bad comment. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.